let's rock and roll.
So Mark, there's a lot that we're going to discuss in this conversation, but before we get into that, I'd be really interested to hear, you've been with Bargate, employee number 1, through to MD. What was your journey prior to joining Bargate?
So prior to joining Bargate, we could go back to the very early days of growing up on a council estate. Mum and dad didn't have much money. Dad worked 3 jobs, so before I started work, came in with a very strong work ethic. At school, so year 10, I passed my maths. Year 11, I did AS maths. Went to college, did pure maths, pure statistics, did business studies. So I've got a very OCD analytical mind. I came into building via the contractor route. So we had a trainee scheme where you went around all the departments. Always knew I wanted to be a QS at that point, but it was very good going and seeing how we build, so that when I'm doing the QSing role, I can actually build a house in my head. So there was very much the OCD part of me is very, very good to bring me into getting on the journey to building. I enjoy building. So, I did a design and build manager's job as well. So I went around the country building bowls clubs, did recording studios. So got quite a good variety of actual building knowledge. And I joined Lindens in 2001 as a senior surveyor. Really didn't expect to enjoy the housing market. I thought it was, when I was in the contracting, it was, oh, you're just house bashing. You're not doing a great deal. When you then get under the skin of building a house, building a community, building family space, it got really, really interesting, even as a surveyor. I then left in 2006 when Gerard set up Bargate Homes. I was employee number 1. And there was 4 of us in a very small little building a block of 20 flats and an office. And at that time, the world was so much easier. The only real challenge was, how do you build a brand? So, prior to Bargate, the great experience I think that I got from everywhere else was I knew how to build. I knew how to get involved within the building process as well, which is something you need as a house builder. I think if you go out there and build boxes, all you're ever going to get is, a very cheap product. If you're trying to build a house and a home, you need to know what you can do within the realms of building to be able to create that space. So my builder knowledge came into it quite well at that point.
Excellent. So from that journey from employee number 1 to now MD, over 15 years or so?
It's 17 years next month. Yes.
Years,
so employee number 1, very much, at the time, I didn't think it was going to be a status point because, you never know house building. Gerard's journey as an entrepreneur-led business was very much, let's build a brand. Let's build a business that is a lifestyle business. We never expected in those early days that we would get to the size that we've got to now. I honestly thought we would get to a point where we would do a management buyout, Gerard would go off and retire, and, we would keep the business within the management team. We grew, probably the best growth we had was after the crash in 07, 08. We realised that actually that's the time to put your head into a strong wind. We went out and bought land cheaper. We set up some great deals with subcontractors and suppliers to keep them going through a recession. We built relationships during that time. And at the same time, we built some lovely family housing as well. So when we came back through that and the world had opened up again, we were in a very, very good position to go out there and keep building the brand. We then got to a position where we got to such a fantastic land bank, and that's probably one of the keys to our successes. We hit Virgin top 25, and we were getting a lot of interest from businesses who wanted to come in and buy us. So at that time, we thought we'd end up being bought out by a Redrow or someone and become like a heritage range for them. The great thing with being bought by Vivid is the shared ethos. We have a purpose beyond profit, and that was a great marketing tagline that we had at the time. We now have an owner that actually helps us walk and talk that. So any decision that we're making at the moment isn't about what the bottom line will be. It's what's the customer experience? What will we add to the community if we build houses in this location. And we can then take decisions that might cost us more, but give us a bigger benefit for the community and for our customers going forward.
So being on that journey from kind of start to the buyout of Vivid, from Vivid, there'll be a lot of your competition that have watched that journey with great admiration and probably a lot of envy.
Yes.
What would you say, what is it that's made Bargate's journey different to the others that have been left in your wake?
I think we've always had a drive to be a retail company, not a house builder. And I think that is the big difference. So when you actually look at, we are building our own commodity, but it is one of the most expensive things anyone's ever going to buy. But it is trying to be like your John Lewis, your Apples. If you've got that attitude to you, the brand and the customers that come along the journey will then be telling their friends, I love my Bargate home. Whereas some of our competition have been led by, okay, how much profit can we make? What's the driver for them other than just getting the cash in and building more houses? I think that's where Vivid picked up on us, which was very much the customer experience, the customer journey. But also within Bargate, we have a unique position as a design and development director who sits between the land and technical team, who takes a scheme that an architect has done that will probably work for a national house builder. You're plotting Lego houses. And Rachel will sit there and go, actually, where's the curb appeal? Why are the roads straight? Why are the roads all tarmac? We don't need to do that. And we will design a development for the future community rather than just placing blocks. And I think that's where the difference comes, is that our end goal is genuinely about our customer, not about how much profit we can make each year.
And Rachel's been on the very same journey really as you, hasn't she, for quite some time? So you'd say she's really a key part of the Bargate secret sauce.
I think she joined us about 2010, and she came in as technical director. Rachel and I work very close together because, again, choosing materials and so she's got a commercial aspect to her brain, but she also will look at the starting product and go, is it buildable? Is it livable? How is it going to create a family environment? How is it going to create a community? And she is there to stop architects and our commercial team, and they are lovely and wonderful. But if you take the path of least resistance and always go for the cheapest option, all you're ever going to do is build cheaper houses. Rachel makes us ask why. And when you ask why and you then realize the reason is the customer journey, it's an easy sell internally. The culture then becomes very much, what's right for the customer.
So would your advice to other house builders to be find a Rachel if you want to improve your product and the position of your business, have a real close eye not only on brand but also on design? Like that. Definitely. That's been one of the secrets
I think that's been a huge secret to our success. We've got a good land bank, but a land bank being turned into houses isn't any good unless you've got someone there who's helping you build a brand. Rachel does carry the brand with her whenever she's looking at anything. She'll go around developments that we've designed and go, oh, I like that, but can I recreate that? Or what can I do to improve that? We've got a scheme down in Bedhampton, which beautiful scheme. The brickwork is fantastic, but it's got herringbone on it. It's got some different features to it. It's got buttresses. So as you drive in, you go, yeah, they thought about this. It's not just when you're inside, it's a lovely, 3-4 bed family house that you've got your kitchen, you've got your downstairs toilet, you've got your bedrooms. It all feeds off of a core for living. But on the outside, you go, this could have been here for the last 20, 30, 40, 50 years. And I think that's the secret to what we've got at Bargate is the curb appeal. It's very tenure blind. So you can drive through one of our estates and not understand which ones are social houses and which one are private houses. And that's a key for us as well. We need to create new communities. We need to create the passion for people who want to come and live in the community, and also to integrate as a society. My journey coming from a council estate to where I am now makes me want to drive our business the same way, to understand that just because you need help to start doesn't mean to say that your end of your journey stays within the system. you work hard and you can then, you can't, the Maggie Thatcher, I want everyone to be able to own their own houses. It's great as an end result, and it's not going to work for everyone. But if you've got that drive and desire to do so, we need to give you the product that can come and help.
So how do you feel when you drive into a national house builder's site and you can see the affordable housing a mile off? How does that make you feel, having been on that?
I'm disappointed, because I genuinely would like all of our competition, the nationals and any of our regional competition, to keep pushing us as an industry forward. The volume of people that buy new houses is very small. Most people go, I want to buy an older house. It's got a big garden. It's got, we need to, as an industry, brand ourselves better. So I get disappointed when I drive through a national and it's all tarmac roads. You can see the social housing that sticks out. Who would want to then go and buy the new house in that estate? We need people to go, I want a new house. And then we want them to see Bargate as the developer of choice. But at the moment, there's probably a lot of people that are put off because they go for a national house builder's estate and go, bit ghetto-y, or it's bland. It's, the choice of materials is not great. There's, instead of using lead, then they use like plastic. It's just disappointing. But it also then makes me very proud of what we do. So I come out of it going, and I'll take Katie around with me, and we'll go for a drive around, or we'll go to see some of the show homes. And it reminds me about the little things that we stress about at work are us trying to improve. We're not getting them wrong. We're just trying to be better. Going to a national makes you realize just really, how well that we as a brand do sit in the marketplace.
And as you sit here today, what's your vision for Bargate looking forwards?
Bargate, I want us to be the developer of choice. So I know it's an easy thing to say, but I want us to build more sustainable homes. Long-term goal is to have a home that could effectively work off grid. Now that's probably going to take us as an industry 10, 15, 20 years to get to. But if I can future-proof the houses so that anyone who's buying one now can live there for the next 10 years, sustainable, have as much PV on the roof as possible, have sustainable energy sources. So gas is going to be going in 2025. So gas is seen as a dirty energy. Electricity needs to be rebranded as well nationally, because everyone thinks from the 80s and the 90s that electric heating is expensive. It doesn't need to be. It can be efficient. You can use your Google Nests and all of the technology there to actually get your house to create a living environment that works with your lifestyle. And if I can future-proof our homes so that you can add new technologies when they come in, but as soon as you move in, I think there was a survey done by the HBF which said that new build houses save up to £2,000 a year on average against a second-hand market. If you can then improve upon that and add to that, a bit like plug and play, which you would do with your computers, long term, the house becomes sustainable. But I also want the houses then, when they have an end life, to be recyclable. I don't want, I want to be able to take a Bargate home apart at the end of it, recycle it, and then that material then goes forward to build new houses.
And how do you embrace the future technology of housing, but combine that with your desire aesthetically to build the best possible house? So
we had a chat earlier about MMC. Everyone calls modern methods of construction modular. For me, it's about making mindset changes. So I need us to, when we're designing a house, trying to look at it to, okay, if we were to rebuild this in 10 years time with new technology, new materials, is it still buildable? Can we still slightly adapt what we're doing and still keep the branding? And that's where we need to do. We need to get our industry to make a mindset change. Building modular housing off of a motorway junction, absolutely fun, wonderful. Trying to build a modular or off-site house and bringing it to Bishop's Waltham. You don't have the infrastructure. Trying to get an Arctic just to get bricks and blocks there is terrible. But to actually bring a whole house along and try and put it onto development, we don't have the electricity infrastructure at the moment either. There's so many elements that, as an industry, we all need to pull together. And in the process of doing that, we just need to do our our bit as an industry to, mindset change. Why doesn't everyone go Part L and above? Why don't we try and make a home more sustainable? Why can't we make it as airtight as possible and efficient as possible? Triple glazing. There's so many things that you can do that from the outside of a house you wouldn't notice, that actually makes it more efficient, and it still looks like a brick, beautiful built house. We need to embrace and spend time with the technology companies and go, okay, so how are we going to get the heating to work? What do we need internet wise on day one? Because if you ask BT for internet on day one, you're waiting 6 months. There's Hyperoptic will give you internet on the first day you move in, and they will give you, I think, 3 months free. So when you move into your house, your phone instantly can talk to your Nest or whichever version we put in. You're coming off grid as much as possible.
And where a lot of house builders are doing the bare minimum, with regulation changes coming in, they're sort of going to scrape through. I think the really interesting thing about you and Bargate is this isn't just corporate fluff. You've got a second-hand home that you're personally putting all this tech into. And why is that?
I genuinely, so my desire is to steer Bargate over the next 10, 15 years before I retire to be the best version of what they can be. But we need to be a legacy-led company, and you can only do that if you change the mindset. If you go, there is a purpose beyond profit. I would much rather spend money on something that's going to enhance people's living than actually sit there and pay large corporation tax at the end of the year on profit and not be proud of what we do. I think the big part, so when I first started, I was the first one. By the end of month 2, there was 5 of us. We now have 70 employed, and we utilize over 600 subcontractors a week as general labor. So that's a lot of lives that we can improve and be on the journey with just by keeping Bargate going. That's actually going to help them create lives for themselves, mortgages for themselves, but they also need to walk away from it proud. There's nothing worse than going home after a day and going, don't really like what I did. You don't come back energized the next day. So we need people to be really, really invested in what we do, working with us and wanting to come back to work the next day.
And I know you've mentioned previously that part of the reason for you embracing the tech personally is so that you can confidently sit in front of a customer and say, this isn't just a box ticking exercise. I've done this in my own home.
Definitely. So I changed to air source. I took gas out of mine, and before we changed to air source, I wanted to live a year or 2 years in a house with air source heat pump to actually understand the technology of it. And it is a mindset change. There isn't, I used to go home, and if it was cold, you'd turn your accelerator up. On gas, it will be stick it up to 30, and within 20 minutes. With air source heat pump, if you need to plan ahead. If you know it's becoming cold, just keep your house set at a temperature and it will stay there. You don't need to be knee jerk with it. But I need to live and breathe that so that I can get that message to our customers, but to all my staff. So when they're talking to customers, so all our sales team and that can understand that actually, if I'm saying I want air source heat pump, it's not because as you say, the government are looking for carbon neutral. I've got it at home and I live with the technology, and it's great. It genuinely is fantastic. The other great thing about air source, because it is a low surface temperature, we can put underfloor heating in on the whole of the ground floor, which, so as a purchaser, you haven't got radiators that you've got your sofa in front of, you've got more flexibility within living space. And then long term, when the technology gets better, having underfloor heating upstairs will be a long-term goal. At the moment, because houses are so efficient, so when I lived in a new build Bargate house, which I put underfloor upstairs and downstairs. Upstairs, we didn't turn it on because it was so efficient. Actually, upstairs was that warm anyway. So again, that's taught me the background knowledge of going, actually, having radiators upstairs isn't such a problem, because actually it would be a waste of money putting the underfloor heating upstairs, because the houses are that efficient and that warm anyway. It's there just as a background heat.
We live in a housing crisis where there's a lot of elderly people knocking around in big 5-6 bed houses, however large, very energy inefficient. Is that part of your personal and corporate ploy, the focus on energy and cost effectiveness to release those housing for people that need it and bring them into your offering?
There is definitely. We need to create communities that you could either downsize to, or I think there's a statistic I saw the other day that within social housing, there's 60 million empty bedrooms. My nan, when she lived in her council house, wouldn't move out of it because it was her home and she felt attached to it. What we need to do is create developments where they can feel that they're going to be part of a community, and also their sons and daughters and family members can come and live as well. So you create a full community for them, and that will then release housing stock around the country, second-hand housing stock, which we still need and we still have a desire to have. We just need to make sure that there's a credible alternative for them to move into and a desire to move into. At the moment, if you are sitting in a nice 4 or 5 bed house and you look at new build housing and it's not sexy because it is blocks of tenements and whatever, that feel of it's not community led. Why would you want to move out? If you actually can see, do you know what? I can actually live there and I can live close to my sons, daughters, grandchildren. We can have a community space. There's a green space in there. New developments nowadays have so much public open space. I don't think a lot of the buying public realise just how much of a community is built within new build housing.
And what does Bargate do differently to create community within new developments?
We will look at the integration. So we won't pepper pot social housing. We try and integrate it. We will give people more space as well. So we create a nice private space in the garden, but the public open space, footpaths, play areas, access to woodland walks. So Bishop's Waltham, you can get onto the South Downs Way. So we've created a path to the South Downs Way. So you've got your own community, but you can then integrate in with the locality. We need to make sure that our schemes are placed in communities that can take the additional people as well, because there's no point in trying to build a new community in the middle of Southampton. There isn't the room, there isn't the need, there isn't the desire. We need to find rural locations that can have communities added on and enhance. We need to be seen as an enhancement, not a carbuncle or sword. And the only way you can do that is through good branded design, very curb appeal flowing street scenes, and also then create links to the community so that it can be enjoyed by the existing community as well.
So Bargate has quite an unfair advantage being owned by a housing association. Your need to please shareholders isn't there.
Yeah.
How do you work with that to your advantage?
Again, we are in a great position. I have the support of owners and a board that want to create new communities. Slightly unfair advantage because we also have access to government funding. But in return for that, what we would do, we've got a scheme in Hedge End where the council were asking for 35% affordable housing. We've actually flipped that. So it's 65% affordable and 35% private. And we will try and utilise government funding to actually enhance new homes in Hampshire. You need affordable homes, you need shared ownership, you need a step up on the ladder. And it is an unfair advantage in one way because we're owned by them. But there are a lot of the other small regional developers who have access to that same fund and can partner with them. They just may not know it. So, even if through this podcast, they can hear that if they make contact with Vivid with their development team and they've got a great scheme, but they need help funding it, there is avenues for them to be able to do that. And it's not done at any detriment. There's no mezzanine funding. There's not 10%, 12%, 15% sort of interest rates against it. Vivid have a desire to build 2,000 new homes each year. At the moment, I think there's a stock of somewhere around about 32,000 homes that they have ownership on. They want to keep creating communities in Hampshire, Dorset, Sussex area. So we've got the unfair advantage at the moment, but it is open to everyone else. So, there is the opportunity for other people to be out there to do it. They just need to get aligned with the ethos and the design and want to be community led, and then they can come and join in.
And Bargate is well recognised as being a high quality house builder. What would you say are the milestones on that journey? What's the secret sauce, do you think, on that journey that's got you to this very, very enviable position?
I think it's a field of dreams. Build it and they will come. We've always aspired to be that retail company. So we've always said, if we build good quality homes, you will get buyers to come and buy. So we will actively try and sit next to a national house builder in location on sites, and then do dare to compare and get people to come along and go, okay, go to both show homes, see, whilst our house might be £5,000-10,000 more expensive, go and see what's not included as standard elsewhere, add that price to the house price that they're telling you, and actually net, we're cheaper. It's great if you've got the ability to move into a house that hasn't got carpets, hasn't got any tiling, hasn't got any wow factors at all, and you're skilled enough to go out and do it, then okay, go and use the building block of a national house builder to go and do it. But most of us work hard and want to come home to a house that is, finished, thought of, and designed as a family. Then come and see a Bargate home. Come and compare us against the nationals. So our secret sauce is very much being building a home that you can instantly live and function in at the price. So it is nearly a one price fits all. We've got a customer experience center, and every customer who buys of us comes in, and Tamsin will sit down with them, and she's not incentivized to upsell. She's there to help them choose, and colors and choices of flooring and whatever that we go through. But the upgrades that you can buy priced at, I think at the moment we've set it 10% on cost, which covers our admin. But anything up to £5,000, £500 after that, we don't want to add too much to it. You should be able to make the money out of building houses. We're also trying to get to the point with our buyers that it is ready to move in. So the euphoria of moving into a new home is great, but that can soon go away when you stand there and go, oh, hang on. I've got to go and spend another £10,000-20,000 making this a home. We try and build all of that in as much as we can early days.
And where the national house builders, they've got to deliver X amount of units for year end, and they're painting the walls while the plaster's still drying, and the person's moving in the next day. How's Bargate's approach to the customer journey to avoid defects and the negative experience that is so widely reported in the press? How's Bargate's journey different?
We've introduced a quality control team. So at the moment, we've got 2 quality control inspectors that will have a 5-point inspection. So at foundations, at first fix, pre-plaster, pre-paint, and then pre-occupation, go around with a checklist and make sure that it's up to standard of a Bargate standard. We are delivering homes by using human beings, so there's going to be faults, there's going to be defects, there is going to be a person that's turned up at work that's not been happy, and some things do go wrong. So we've then got a customer experience team that come in afterwards and will, without much quibble, because you can never say, you're always going to get onerous people that are going to try and
there's always one
there is always one, but the remit from them is to come in, and if they see something that hasn't been picked up by the homeowner, show it to them and say, whilst I'm here, would you like me to do it? We don't allocate time to the customer care operatives when they're going out. If they're going out and they're going to do it, then we try and give them a bit more flexibility to not rush it, and to be able to help the homeowner in any way possible. It is about that customer experience, that customer journey. The New Homes Quality Board is great. That's actually going to help up everyone's game. We're already at the point where we're delivering to what the New Homes Quality Board should be asking everyone to do. Our next remit is to go above and beyond. We need to be that next level of service. It's a very competitive market out there, and the best PR we can have is dinner parties, people down the pub saying, yeah, Bargate House is great. Yes, some things did go wrong, but they fixed it, and they did it in a manner that was respectful of us as a family, and we're on the journey with them. Because there will be defects, unfortunately.
In your journey to MD, so there's probably an inner QS inside of you that wrestles with all of these costs and thinks, this we could be increasing profits. Obviously, that's not the aspiration now as Vivid owned. But how did you make that transition from QS scrutinising every pound spent through to visionary, where it's an investment? How have you found that transition?
That has been so originally as an entrepreneur-owned business and led business, the mindset very much was, okay, every penny of profit at the end of the year, does help make a profit of business. But the great thing that our owner did at the time was reinvest that. And after a period of time, that does weaken in your brain. It is through culture. It's through, it's watching your leader not go out and buy a boat with the money, but actually to come in and with a new site with the money that actually got the culture going internally, going, well, actually, the more money we make, the better houses we can build and the more houses we can build. I then took a step from commercial to operations director, and I think that helped as well on the journey, because I was then in charge of customer care, customer experience, and delivering the homes. So my remit then was making sure that I delivered the best quality homes I could at the time. And after a period of time, that then took away the commercial aspect of it, because I was spending time with the customer on the journey and post journey to work out any of the things that we'd done wrong, how could I then re-correct them going forward? And then suddenly you realise that actually by spending £5,000 now will save you £20,000 in a few years' time. Then the commercial brain kicks back in, going, actually, it's value engineering the money you're spending rather than just trying to save every single penny. It's the same as, I do at home. When I go to the supermarket, if there's a 3 for 2 offer and I don't need 3 and I'm going to be throwing one of them or 2 of them away, I'll buy what I need. There's no point in creating landfill for the sake of what you think is a deal. And that's where our making mindset changes at work should be as well. We need to build houses with less rubble, less wastage. If we can do that, then if I can save a skip per house, I'm saving £250. That £250 can buy a Google Nest. And it's then just spending the money in the right places.
17 years ago, if someone had said to you, Mark, you'll be the leader of Bargate as it is now, I don't think anyone foresaw the journey that Bargate would go on and the position that it's in now. But the step beyond that, which I think is fantastic, you are now on the advisory board for the all-party parliamentary group for housing. That's quite a mouthful, isn't it?
Yeah, it is, yes.
Which is, what a cracking responsibility. What's your desire there?
So, quite genuinely, when I first started working, I was taken under the wing of a guy in the accounts department who was in the latter part of his career. He spent time with me, teaching me the etiquette and the right ways to act within business. I want to do that going forward as well. So what I want to do is knowledge share. I want to be able to retire knowing that I've left a very good footprint in our industry. So I've joined the advisory board for housing delivery. So it's an all-party parliamentary group. So there are no blue or red flags. It is all about how can we deliver new homes to a more sustainable backdrop going forward. So what we do within the group, and I'm a regional, there's no nationals in the group, which is great. So it's coming at it from a real business point of view, from a stakeholder point of view, that we then advise the ministers, and they then do an internal paper of what the headlines are coming our way, what can they do to help take the roadblocks out of the way, what can we do to create more houses, which creates better economy and better living standards for everyone going forward. So what we as a board are trying to do is just navigate the stormy waters that we've got and we're going through at the moment, that is going to be community led at the end of it. Because if you leave it to individual departments, everyone in their own silo will only do what's best for them. We've all come together to go, what's best for community. So again, the advisory board isn't just, there's people from all over the UK. So the levelling up element of that is we all come at it from what is right for our local communities, what's right for us.
And what are you hoping to see come out of it? What would be, if you could change anything right now, you could, give one bit of advice on that board that would trigger immediate change, what's the one thing that you'd like to see?
I think building more sustainable homes is if we could unlock the planning pressures that are there, and if we could convince communities that new homes can fit in with the new community, that would be my utopia. Because at the moment, with the green belt being a big issue for the Tory backbenchers, you could drive around Denmead, Bishop's Waltham, there's a whole load of green fields. But if you stop at some of the green fields, they're not being farmed. They are ugly eyesores, but because they're green, they're untapped areas of resource that you could create a new community. And with sustainable houses, if we can take some of the old stock out, so it's the same as growing up, there was only leaded petrol, and diesel was for delivery vehicles. Now we've got electric charging vehicles, and we've got cleaner fuel, trying to get rid of diesel. All of that old stock has been scrapped, reproportioned, recycled. What we need to do as well with some of our old housing product is do the same. There are houses out there that are absolutely sapping the carbon from the environment.
And we're putting sticking plasters on them, and they just need
and everyone's going, oh, that's great, I'll just put a bit of double glazing. No, actually, the stock isn't suitable for the future society. My children and children's children and everything's coming forward. They need houses that are energy efficient, because from the research I've seen recently, the way that we're going at the moment, the electricity grid by 2050 is going to have double the demand it's got at the moment. You need that to be green energy. You need that to be coming from a place of sustainability in the first place. But you don't want that energy being wasted in a house that is just absolutely, spitting out heat. We need to be able to create, but to do that, and that's great. Leveling up is as wonderful as it is. You will not get someone who currently lives in the rural Hampshire wanting to go and live in Newcastle. So we then need to create the right type of new build communities in our local area, because there still is a demand. So my utopia for the APPG, for housing delivery, will be to build beautiful houses in beautiful locations, but which enhance the community. And it's trying to get that shift from parish committees and, local councillors and that, to understand that we're not the evil ones. Actually, we're there to help, make a better future for their children and their grandchildren.
Go's recent decision has, without doubt, made that much harder.
Yes.
What's your position on that?
With the APPG, what we're working is doing a lot of consultation in the white paper to try and open up the at least the dialogue that actually what the sentiment of what they're saying is great. They want beautiful homes in beautiful locations, but they don't want to get rid of the green belt. That's great. I think what we just need to get them to do is to redefine what green belt is, because at the moment there are areas, I've said earlier, that you could tap into that aren't green and pleasant and would actually add to communities. I think we need the government to get back to actually having targets. As soon as you take targets away, so it's still not planning law at the moment, but there are at least 5 counties locally that have got rid of housing in their area because they know it's coming down the line. My biggest disappointment, I think, was when you heard Rishi Sunak's, top 5 plan didn't have housing, didn't have sustainable housing in there at all. I think they missed the boat to be able to help us as an industry. I think if you were to speak to someone in Treasury, they would understand that what we create is jobs, opportunities and money. But they've then got a department that are listening to the backbenchers are going, I don't want it. Yeah. I think NIMBYism is I think it's been overplayed now. Well, actually what we need to do is try and upskill the local planning committees to understand what new homes actually bring to the pie. some of them are using it, they're standing in the pub and, you've got the local celebrity arm on the bar saying, I won't let houses come into our community. At the same time, bemoaning that their children can't buy a house down the road. Well, that's easily unlocked by making sure that what is going into the community is, a design-led, legacy-led, beautiful scheme. And then it can all work.
So if you were in Gove's position right now, what would be your next step? Obviously not having made the first decision, but there we go.
I think if I was in Gove's position now, I think I would redefine what levelling up really means. Because levelling up is a great thing, but levelling up shouldn't mean taking houses out of locations that need housing in the moment. What it needs to do is levelling up the playing field for SMEs and micro builders to be able to join in with the nationals on large scale developments. I think if one of the nationals was to have 1,000 unit scheme, there should be a proportion of those that has to be given the opportunity to SMEs and micro builders to build within their new communities. And I would be pushing for that to happen. I'd be putting legislation in that said that, okay, you've got 35% affordable in a lot of locations, but I then want 15% on top of that to be SME or, sustainable developers. I'd want some of that to be MMC. I'd want some of that to be net zero housing, so that you've given the buying public the opportunity within 1,000 houses to have different developers and different lifestyles. There are some people that will want to go and buy a national house builder's house that is a 2-bed house that they're going to be paying £300,000 for, whichever. That's great. But they also need to have the opportunity to go and buy a house from someone who has lived and breathed their same situation and has designed a house for them that actually gives them more opportunities to grow as a family.
And I suppose the shame, certainly from the NIMBY attitude, probably comes because of the experience of national house builders.
Yeah.
And they don't realise, a company like Bargate, what the alternative can be, and actually the positive aspects that brings to a community.
It is, and I've been campaigning internally in our little parliamentary group to actually try and get us to. So back in, I think it was the 80s, Edwina Currie had sort of basically killed the egg industry by saying that, you could get salmonella from eggs. The egg community then came out and did their own marketing. It wasn't branded as any of the farms. They came together. We as a new build need to all get together and do a marketing campaign that explains to the public that new build housing is sustainable. It needs to be unbranded, because as soon as you attach someone's name to it, you then get their stakeholders or their shareholders or whatever wanting you to push it somewhere. We need to go out there and campaign that new build housing is actually can be done right and can be sustainable and can add to a community. As soon as you get the mindset changes again, so that's making mindset change. If I can get that into the community and I can get it into the committees to understand, and if if they've got to give 1,000 houses, they know that at least 50% of that is going to be affordable into SMEs. I genuinely think they'd be more happy to actually get on board with it.
And at a point in time at the moment where, unfortunately, many of the nationals are reporting some fairly stonking losses, how does Bargate fare at the moment?
So I think strategically what we've done very well is we've bought land at the right time and the right opportunity at the right price. So yes, we do have rising build costs. Everyone does. We are so 2017 to now, it costs us around about £20,000 extra to build the same house than it did then. And that's not just building materials. That's through the planning process. That's consultees. That's the new sustainable, the air source heat pumps, all of those bits and pieces. What we've managed to do during that period of time is not go and waste money. So we are spending more money and we are still making a profit, but we're not trying to chase the 30% profit that the nationals are. We'd be more than happy that at the end of the year, that if we netted 10% profit, fantastic. What a great year that's been for us. And that then can go back into the group and that can then go and buy more land for more houses. So it's about a blend of profits then, I think, for us. It's all about trying to make sure that we're spending money wisely And, as a business, it would be remiss of me to say that, oh, yeah, we don't mind making a loss. No business should make a loss. You shouldn't ever be in business to lose money. You should be there to make a proportion of money that's sensible for the environment that you're working in.
So you sit in quite a comfortable position in that you're building houses that are perhaps more desirable than the national house builders, and you don't have the same level of profit expectations as shareholders of national house builders do. What's the next step for Bargate in the current climate?
In the current climate, it is very much coming out of this the other side a better version of we are now. So this is a time that we've got sites coming through the planning process in different communities. So we're trying to move into the New Forest. So we've got about 5 schemes that will bring us into the forest. And that has a new challenge.
Good luck with that one, isn't it?
But again, it's about us then expanding the brand further. When we first started, we chose Bargate the name because it was synonymous with Southampton. It was very much the Bargate Centre. It was the centre of a Southampton community. Now I want us to expand that community out. I think my ideal within the next 5 to 10 years, I would love to find a development similar to a Wellbourne or a Mannydown, where we could secure planning for a new community and put our head office there. I'd happily move into the middle of the community that we're going to build. I'd like to be the centre of that community that shows people that we're not hiding away from what we're building, from the product. If there are any customer care defects, that they can actually walk to the office and come and see us. I'd love to build a sustainable development that all of the landscape and waste that's created through cutting it goes into a composting area that goes back out into the community. Having that central hub of a community with a centre, a sports complex, and a business is the ideal way that I want us to go.
So as you sit here today, what are the challenges that Bargate faces at this point in time, and what are the challenges that you see on the road ahead?
So if we drop back 5-10 years ago, it was very easy to secure a planning permission, build houses, turn it into profit, and move on. At this moment in time, with the political backdrop that we've got, I think the current government have got 2 years to try and fix themselves for another 5 years. In the back of that, there is housing, and new build housing is not sexy enough to win votes. So what we've got to try and do is try and turn our land bank of 3,000, developable homes into real homes for the communities. And with the backdrop that we've got, with the pressures from planning, with the pressures from the local community, and without the support of the government, that's going to be very difficult. We as a business take options on land, and we will take options on land that aren't in a local plan at the moment, hoping it will come. If they don't ever get into a local plan, at the moment, with the backdrop of what Michael Gove and levelling up and all the planning reforms doing, they will never be houses. So our challenge is trying to still build within the core of the group 2,000 new homes a year in a market that has got a great desire for it, but it doesn't have a political backdrop that supports it. And that is going to be a challenge, not just for us, for the nationals as well. The negative side of what we've got going forward is, at the moment, or 5 years ago, the nationals wouldn't look at any sites less than 100, 200, 300 units. Where their numbers are being so depleted by the new planning reforms, they're now coming to bid strongly on land that we would want to go and buy. And that then becomes difficult, because you then have a land team that probably won't be at the national in the next 5 years, overpaying and bringing an unnatural uplift to land value just purely to keep their own jobs and to secure their large bonuses. And we can't compete with that. We can go out and pay a right proportion for land, but we are finding some of the bids that we're losing, we're out by £20,000 a plot. And it's just not sustainable. And it won't be sustainable for the nationals. But all they're really trying to do is fill an order book. And that's going to be very difficult for regional and SME developers. We saw a stat the other day, I think SMEs have gone down from 10,000 to about just over 2,000 at the moment. That is a lot of missed opportunity for local trades, for the local economies, because the nationals, whilst they will build locally, will use national contractors. So we're starving the local community of jobs and infrastructure and everything else that's going on, because the nationals will get into a position where they're the only gig in town, and that scares me.
And at the moment, Bargate are building out some phenomenal sites that your competition would love to have their hands on. Clearly, those sites were banked a few years ago. What's the secret for, if you could kind of broadcast your secret for getting that kind of land? How have Bargate got the best land?
So I've got a fantastic land team. I think it's investing in the people. So Steve, my land director, has been with me for 10 years. So again, if you use the football analogy, it's all about having confidence in your managers and staying with them through the bad times. So we have had some rough times over the years, but we've all kept together as a core and as a team. So I've got a very, very good, secure land team. I've got the support of a board and an owner that will buy and secure sites early on in the process. As soon as it's allocated or it's in a local plan, I can buy it. I can then build it out in the timeframes that we need to. Our secret has been very much talking to landowners about being a community and a legacy-led developer means that we can secure land that will come forward. I think branding has been a big piece for us. I think we established a brand and have made sure that the local community know that if we're going to rock up, yes, you are going to have a year and a half, 2 years of building going on, but we're then going to leave a beautiful scheme and an addition to the community. That then helps landowners go, actually, I'd rather work with you than with the nationals.
So would you say there's a difference in a Bargate landowner and a national house builder landowner, or a landowner that sells to a national house builder?
Yes.
Because quite often we have the conversation with land directors, landowners don't care, they just want want to maximise the value of the land. So is part of your secret that actually there's a pool of landowners out there that have an affinity with Bargate beyond, similar to your vision, a purpose beyond profit?
There is, yes. So you will find that some people who are late to the party and have inherited the land off of some aunt or uncle or mum or dad that they haven't seen for 30 odd years. All they're in it for is maximising the profits. For us, we like to talk to landowners who want to stay in the community. So some of the sites so we're dealing with the Cranberry Estates, and then we will then build some of the houses for them to stay on the community as well themselves. So we buy the land off of them. They then get houses that they can then rent out, but they're still part of it. They then want it to be a beautiful scheme because they've got their own rental on there. They've got their own people coming back, and they want to still have an anchor to be there. They still want to stay in the community. So for us, it's about going out and finding those landowners. There's a lot of work that's being done at the moment with the Prince's Foundation. So since Charles became king, obviously Poundbury everyone knows about, but what they don't know about is that he and a lot of similar legacy landowners are trying to get SMEs and regional developers to come and work alongside them as well. So the Prince's Foundations are trying to pair up people as well. And that's the secret to being a regional developer. It's going out there and spending the time with the landowner, taking them around developments, showing them that when they are down the local pub, they're not going to have eggs thrown at them. People are actually going to say, well, I think what you've done with your land is fantastic. Getting them to understand that land values need to be shared in proportion, still difficult and is still a challenge, but there are a lot of them out there that do get it.
And with that approach, does it make the consultation process smoother as well?
Yes. So for what we try and do with the consultation process is we actively will go online and set up a web page that we can get community feedback from. And you will always get people that don't want development for their own personal reasons. We want to listen to them and go, okay, within the reasons of no, what can we do that actually, when we are here, is not going to make it as an eyesore as you think it's going to be. We need to promote our houses as being a better brand, and trying to get people to realise that, national house builders are national house builders, but we act differently and we have a different ethos.
Excellent. And so now looking ahead for the next 10 years, where will Bargate be in 10 years' time?
Bargate will continue to build the brand. We have the finance, the land opportunity, and the will to grow the business to being 400 units a year. So at the moment, we're currently building just under 200. So over the next 10 years, we want to double in size. But within that, we're going to increase the volume of it that is affordable as well. So we would ideally like to build 400 homes a year, 200 affordable, 200 for private. So then what we're trying to do is just enact with 200 people a year. That actually is not that difficult to do in Hampshire and Sussex, and to find 200 customers is a lot easier than trying to go out and find 5,000 or whatever some of the regionals will do. I want us to be able to build houses in the next 10 years that are above and beyond sustainable, that can have the ability to plug and play and to be off grid. So we're looking at battery technology. Batteries at the moment just aren't there. Once that gets some momentum and we're offering at the moment with PV that if we do battery backup as an upgrade, it is a cost for cost, so we don't actually add any profit to it. So if it costs us £3,000 for a battery, the customer pays £3,000. We want to be able to offer them the ability to be as much off-grid living as possible, to take the stress off of the network. But the technology is not there. So I think over the next 10 years, we'll have more sustainable homes, more efficient homes, as much self-sustainability as possible, and creating some more communities, within the beautiful Hampshire sort of rural areas.
Excellent. So to close, Mark, a slight curveball question. You're buying another new house, maybe a Bargate house because it's sustainable. Anyone can do that viewing. Who would you pick so they can take you on the viewing? You can spend an hour with them, sit down on the sofa, have a chat with them. Who would you pick to do that viewing? Be anyone celebrity, someone personal, so someone that you can spend an hour with, pick their brain, hang out with. Who would you pick?
Instantly, I would love to sit down with Michael Gove. I would love to take him around all of our developments to show him the integration that we have with the community, go and actually talk to the plumbers. There's a lot of our plumbers that, we use local, that I can go and talk to about their families, about, which football teams they support, all of those kind of, and I'd like him to come and see that with me. I really would like him to see that we are part of the community. We're not, I think he called house builders a cartel. We're not. The Nationals maybe, but there are so many people like Bargate out there all across the country that he needs to understand aren't in it for the profit, that actually want to build a legacy. And I think if I could spend an hour with him showing him that new build housing isn't a blot on the landscape, can be sustainable, can be beautiful, then I think I could change his mind.
So Gove, if you're listening, there's an invitation.
Thank you.
Mark, thank you so much. It's been an absolute pleasure to have a conversation with you. Watching your journey has been incredible, and I wish you all the best of luck.
Excellent. Thank you very much.